I will now like to introduce Mike Copeman, who will be discussing his journey and successful treatment with Braftovi and Maktovi through a clinical trial. So please join me in welcoming Mike.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. I have stage 4 metastatic melanoma, and my melanoma journey started at the end of May 2018 when I got my diagnosis. But my cancer journey actually started a little earlier in February of the same year, when I had a red spot on my nose, which turned out to be basal cell carcinoma, and it was too big to be operated on or have surgically removed. So instead, I was offered a drug called Alberta, which is a topical chemotherapy, and it did the job. It was 6 weeks of very red, burning pain, but it was very effective, and it took care of the cancer, and all was good, or so I thought. On a subsequent visit to see my doctor, we looked at a tumor on my shoulder, and it was bleeding mole, actually. And as soon as my doctor saw that, she said, it's got to come off right away. So she excised it, sent it off for the results to see what was happening with it. And it turned out to be malignant melanoma. I got that result about 6 days later. So the journey really started for me then. I got introduced to my cancer team. This is Dr. Salopek, Dr. Smiley, and a week later, Dr. Dabbs, who was going to be the surgeon. July 31st, I had the surgery to remove the sentinel lymph nodes on the right side. And a little over a week later, I got the results back, and it was bad news. The 2 of the 4 had melanoma, and that necessitated another surgery. That was done at the end of August 27th, 2018. They removed either all of the lymph nodes or most all of them, but regardless, I was fitted with a Jackson Pratt drain and a chest tube, and that was basically in there for about a month. They'd asked me at the Cross if I wanted to go with targeted therapy or this new immunotherapy, and I thought, well, if it's new, I'd like to go with that. October 23rd of 2018, I received approval for the immunotherapy and was granted access to hope, for which I have to thank Bristol Myers Squibb. They took care of the bill. They paid for it all. It was awesome. And things seemed to be going okay. Started November 15th. It's bi-weekly. Saw something funny happening December 27th, 2018, when I had my first bit of a reaction, chills and, fever. Lasted about 30 minutes, was gone. 4 days later, night sweats like I've never had before. It was like somebody turned a garden hose on me. And after that, everything was fine. Get into 2020, March 26th, I saw something under my armpit. It looked like 8 or 9 little red, not blisters, but pimples. So went in and reported that, and they knew right away what it was. They confirmed by punch biopsy I had 8 or 9 little satellites. The cancer had spread. So now I was back to what do I want to do, or what would I like, and targeted therapy or add another drug to the nivolumab. And I said, no, let's go with the ipilimumab, because I knew it was a good combination from everything that I'd heard and that they had told me about. So we started April 5th with the first infusion. And I got to tell you, that drug was amazing. In that first 2 weeks, I could see all of the tumors disappearing just before my eyes. It was amazing to see that. So I knew this was really good stuff. April 26th, I got my second dose of both EP and nivolumab. Was my second, and it would turn out to be my last. May 14th, I started getting sick. I didn't know what was going on, but they stopped my next infusion because they knew it was related to that. And they tried to help me out with outpatient intravenous hydration and whatever else they could do. And finally, on May 28th, they admitted me to the hospital at the Cross. I was put on steroids and hydration. My blood had also, my blood work had gone really bad. My creatinine had gone through the roof. They brought in a kidney doctor, and he determined through a kidney biopsy that I had not only acute kidney failure, but I had severe damage done to my kidneys. I was in the hospital for 8 days, and they sent me home. I guess I was doing better, but they put me on prednisone, which was, if anybody's had it, prednisone is an amazing drug because you have so much energy. You do all kinds of things. I cleaned my garage and sorted stuff, and it was great. It was like magic. But I got up at 4:30 every morning. You can't sleep with that stuff, but it worked okay until it didn't. July 9th, prednisone ended, and the pain started, the inflammation in my toes, ankles, and moved on up into my knees. They sent me to a rheumatologist, and she determined that I had inflammatory arthritis, and similar to rheumatoid arthritis, but it was caused by my body's overreaction and what it was doing to my joints. So I started hydroxychloroquine. That kicked in. It took 12 weeks before it kicked in. And I got to tell you, that was about the worst 12 weeks I've ever had. Chronic pain, couldn't move, couldn't stand, couldn't sit, sleep, go upstairs, or any of that kind of stuff that we take for granted. And you tend to get pretty grouchy. At any rate, I stumbled on something that worked pretty good, was liquid THC. And it doesn't stop the pain, but you don't really care. You know, you're stoned all the time. And it got me through until November 8th, when finally the pain diminished, went away, the inflammation was gone, and then everything was seemed to be good. Get my PET scans every 3 months. That went through into 2020. Everything seemed to be fine. Every 3 months, blood work and PET scans. Then we get into 2021, and it was March 19th when they noticed what looked like a tumor in my small bowel. And I had to get a double balloon endoscopy that confirmed that there was something there, but they couldn't tell if it was cancerous. The surgery was done on May 20th. And I had a 4-day stay in the hospital that time. The surgeon was sure he got all of it. And it turned out, of course, to be metastatic melanoma. And that's when I went from stage 3C to stage 4. So my next PET scan was clear. It was June 15th. Thought maybe I've got this thing licked. Next few PET scan, well, it seemed like I was doing all right till April 28th, 2022. And that's when they saw a reoccurrence in the same spot, about the same size. Only this time surgery was not an option. I was offered a targeted therapy, and I looked at my options, and the one I chose, you know, I laughed when I saw the names because it sounded like one of the Edmonton Oilers, when they were playing hockey in Edmonton, doing a good job. They had Braftovi and Maktovi, sounded like one of their lineups. I thought, this has got to be good. I'll try it. So I belonged to the Melanoma Canada monthly get together, and I brought it up at the group that I'd had this reoccurrence and that I'd elected to go with Braftovi and Maktovi. It shows you how good Melanoma Canada Zoom meetings are. Is somebody, actually a fellow named Rob Stoffer, he told me, he told all of it. He says, look, I've heard of this stuff. I know that they've done some trials in Australia. I'll send you all the links. So that was awesome. I got to go through there, and I found out that they'd been using it for 5 years in Australia with pretty darn good results. So May 10th, I was just reared up, ready to go. We started the drugs, Braftovi and Maktovi, 12 pills a day, 3 in the morning, 9 at night, 12 hours apart. Blood work every month. Scan, my next scan was 3 months later. So that scan was August 5th. And, you know, I went into to see the oncologist. And my wife always comes with me. She's my second set of ears, second set of eyes. And he opened the door and he walked in. He says, Mike, this was Dr. Smiley. He says, Mike, it's good news. You've had a complete response. And I thought I knew what he meant, but my jaw dropped. I was speechless. It's not what you pray for the best, but you know that you got to be prepared for the worst. My wife says, well, what does that mean? He says, well, it means that the complete response, there's no more cancer. It's gone. She, well, what happens to Mike now? Oh, we'll keep giving him the pills, and in 3 months, we'll give him another scan. And then after that, we'll probably lengthen the time of scan out, more time between scans. And I remember she said to him, she said, what do we do now? He says, you go home and you celebrate. That's when I found my voice, and I was able to, be part of it and realize man, we finally we've, to the extent that we can, we've licked this thing. It's been 4 years where I could only plan my life in 3 months between each scan. Never want to plan past it because you never know what's going to happen. So this time I can actually plan for next summer and the summer after. And it's starting to look pretty positive. And I've got all the thanks have to go to the compassionate program from Pfizer. They put me on this, and they're the ones that made this happen. And the other thing that Melanoma Canada does for us all is bring out these great meetings where we have information from people like Dr. Petrello. And with that, I guess that's the end of my presentation. Just remember to pray a lot, because I sure do. And there's something coming for all of us. Maybe one thing doesn't work this time. Maybe it'll help a bit, but there'll always be something else. And with that, I'll leave it open for questions.
Thank you so much, Mike, for sharing your story and for being here. We really appreciate it.